There we go. All right. Welcome everyone to the HT Fund application overview. I want to start with a very quick history of the fund. It is actually through the Victims of Crime Act, which is VOCA for short. It was originally housed with the Maine State Police, and MECASA kind of acquired it about 3 years ago. I have been managing the fund for about 2 years now. And just to kind of give you a bigger scope of the fund, last year in 2021, we served 21 individuals with 83 immediate needs, and we spent over $36,000 on those needs. So, you know, big numbers, and we're doing really great things with it. I do want to kind of also start by sharing where you can find up-to-date information on the fund. So I'm going to screen share. And where did we go with that? Right. It's not coming up anymore. Sorry, y'all. That will. Okay. Here we go. So Julie's going to pop in the chat the mainsten.org website. And this is where you're going to find the most up-to-date application. If you go to the support page and down to Trafficking Survivor Fund, and you scroll down a little bit, you'll find it here. And before we actually get into that, I do want to kind of touch base on the little light bulb that we have. It's kind of like a traffic light. The green means that we have plenty of funds. If you have any questions, like everything on the pre-approved needs list will be funded. And more than likely, if you have special needs or special requests for needs, those, as long as they're immediate needs, they will also get funded. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us through this information through our helpline or any domestic violence center. If the light bulb is yellow, it's the caution light. It just means that the funding is starting to get a little low. If you have questions about special requests, you definitely need to contact us. Most of the pre-approved needs will get funded unless they're really big ticket items. We definitely have to check. And then if it's red, it means that we are getting very, very low or we are completely out. I will tell you that I've never had to change the color of the light bulb ever. I don't think we have at MECASA since it's been housed here with us. So usually it's always green. And if it ever changes, I will send out an email to let folks know. Another piece of information, if you ever have any questions about the fund, to please reach out to the htfund@mecasa.org email address. And Julie's also going to pop that into the chat for you all. This way, if I happen to be out for any reason, my backup will also receive those applications and any questions that you may have. You can also call us at the office. There's always somebody here, and like we like to say here at MECASA, there's no wrong door. So if the person you're talking to doesn't have the answer, somebody else definitely will. And we're going to get right into this application. Julie is also going to pop in the chat this link for you, so you can also pull it up on your computer and have it, download it. Again, that website is where the most up-to-date application will always be. So the fund purpose is it's available to meet the immediate emotional, psychological, and physical health and safety needs of human trafficking victims, survivors, when other funds are unavailable or unable to do so. The people that can actually submit the applications, very important to kind of know this, is sexual assault support centers, domestic violence resource centers, trafficking specific social service agencies or programs, and any other social service programs that are connected to an anti-trafficking multidisciplinary team, or MDT for short. If you work at an agency that works with trafficking victims but has never submitted an application, please reach out to that htfund@mecasa.org email. And there is kind of a process to go through, but we'd be happy to set that up and start that process. Law enforcement officers who encounter a person that could use the fund are really encouraged to reach out to one of these sexual assault support centers or a domestic violence resource center, or actually any of these agencies that work with MDTs. Again, if you are not an eligible provider and you have questions about this, you can always call the sexual assault support helpline or the domestic violence helpline. They will forward you to a center that then can take over the application process. The recipient eligibility must be a victim of survivor of human trafficking or sexual assault in Maine. They don't need to go through law enforcement officers to be eligible for this fund. The need eligibility, the need must be connected to their victimization, and it must be an immediate need. Most of this, and I'm sorry if I'm talking very quickly, there's a lot of this information to get through, and so at any point, if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat and Julie will help me keep track of those. So most of these pages it's just informational. It's going to help you get a deeper sense of what the fund is, what is needed to qualify for the fund. We do have a little flow chart that we're going to go over briefly. But the payment, there's 3 ways to make a payment, which is also going to come up at the end of the application. We'll go over that again. One is that your organization is going to pay for the need directly, and then they're going to submit the application for reimbursement through MECASA. 2, if your organization is unable to do that, and you would actually reach out to a sexual assault support center or to a domestic violence support center, they would pay for that. They would actually take over the application, pay for the need, and then submit to MECASA for reimbursement. The third way is that you request that MECASA pay for it directly. We make every effort to do that in a very quick and timely manner. But sometimes that can take up to a couple weeks. And so if it's something that's absolutely immediate, please reach out to that email address, call the office. If it's something that we can't get to, you can also reach out to one of those sexual assault support centers and to the domestic violence center for them to then take over the application and submit for reimbursement. All right. This again kind of talks about the 3 different ways to pay for those. This is our flow chart, which I always love visuals. So is the recipient eligible? They should meet the federal guidelines for human trafficking. If they don't, you can always call us with questions. If they do, then we ask, is it personally related to their victimization? If not, please call us. If yes, is it an immediate need? No, again, call us. Basically, if you have questions, you just call us. This piece right here, if the need will be otherwise funded, that we'll kind of go over that a little bit further in the actual application piece. We do ask that you check off quite a few boxes and go through different resources, as this is kind of like I don't want to say it's the last stop, but it is for emergency needs that are not getting funded otherwise. We have a lot of needs that are on a pre-approved list, which we'll go over. If it's not on a pre-approved list and you do feel that it's an immediate need and it is not otherwise funded through other agencies, please again call MECASA for approval, or you can email me at the htfund@mecasa.org. we make every effort to put through special requests if we can. But again, just call us, email us. Can your agency pay for the need up front? If they can, please pay for the need. We'll go over what we'll actually need to accompany the application. If no, you can call the domestic violence helpline, you can call the sexual assault helpline, or you can call us directly. Moving on to the pre-approved needs. We'll probably spend a little bit more time here. All of these items, if it's on this list and it falls within pre-approved limits, it's automatically approved. If you meet all the other criteria and it's under the limit, just please feel free to send in that application. Some agencies have a practice of calling us first and just saying, this is what we're looking for. Can we get it pre-approved? Of course, we will always do that. But I do like to remind folks that it's not absolutely necessary as long as it's within those limits. The bus pass, single rides, day pass, month pass. Then we have statewide, out of state, ride share app, $50 maximum. Uber gift cards are allowed. And I did have found that Uber, you can do it electronically. We just ask that you have some kind of electronic receipt that you can then send to us with the application. And I should probably state all of these needs. We'll need to have some kind of itemized invoice or receipt to accompany the application. So we have a paper trail. Taxis, $50 maximum. Tipping is not allowed, and you're going to find that with the food items as well. Gas, $50 maximum. We had a request to buy a gas card for a client not too long ago. Unfortunately, there are no gas stations in Maine that we know of that is just strictly, if you buy the gas card, it's just strictly for gas. It's for the store. And so unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to reimburse that, just as a kind of to keep in the back of your heads. And we do that because if it doesn't say strictly for gas, the client could then use it for cigarettes, for alcohol, for all these different items in the store that we don't cover. So unfortunately, this is pretty much just a reimbursement only. Car repairs, a $500 maximum. This, we do ask that you get 3 quotes from different body shops. It doesn't have to be the cheapest body shop that you go with, but it has to be comparable to the other 3. And this way we just know that there's no price gouging. And just to have those for our records. Car fees, registration and tax, 1 month of insurance and payments. As the advocate at the agency, you are going to have to certify and keep proof in your records that the recipient has a valid driver's license and that the car is registered to the recipient, it's inspected and insured. We don't need to see proof of those things, but you will need to keep record of those at the agency. And any invoices that you do send with the application, we do ask that you redact any identifying information, and that's for the client's safety and confidentiality. Let's see, airfare is one-way, $300 maximum, must demonstrate the most affordable flight was selected. I think there's so many different websites out there now that you can easily do that with, and just get a screenshot of it and accompany it with the application. And airfare one-way $300 maximum is, I'm not really sure where they're going, but I think it's easy to say that yes, it's probably going to be more than that, and feel free to reach out to us at any time and say it's a little bit more. Can we get a special approval for that? And I should also say that any of these pre-approved items, if if you're looking to spend more than what's on here, please reach out and we will get back to you usually within a day or two about whether we can approve the extra funding. Train tickets, that's actually new this year, and that's for a round trip ticket. We did not put a maximum because it all depends on where they're going. And moving on to shelter rent is existing apartment rent is 1 month. The new apartment is the security deposit first and last month. We do need to see a rental agreement or a lease. It has to be only in the client's name, and we need a signed copy of it to be attached to the application. Again, redacting any of that identifying information. On the rental agreement, we will need to see also either the rental management company, like the identifying information and address, or whoever like the person is with their mailing address, the actual manager or the building owner. Again, if there's any questions about any of these things, please let me know, or later on, you can always email me or call. Electric bill, $100 maximum, heat bills, $100 maximum. Again, this is the same as with the rent, where the account must be in the client's name. And we don't need proof that showing us that it's in the client's name. We're going to kind of talk about the advocates doing the due diligence and why we ask for you to do that, and sometimes keep record of it in a little bit. Hotel, we do up to 3 nights. It can't exceed the federal rates for that city and month. And Julie is going to drop in the chat. There is a website that I use quite frequently to find the federal per diem rates for these, as well as when we get to the basic needs, the hot food is also a per diem rate. We do ask that you plan an ongoing safety planning with the individual. Tipping is not allowed. And there is the gsa.gov website right here as well. We realize that 3 nights sometimes is not enough. So again, if you need those extra nights, please feel free to email us, call. Again, if we have plenty of money in those funds, we like to help the best that we can. Moving on to other basic needs. We have groceries and food. Groceries, $100 maximum, food only, no alcohol or cigarettes. Touching, kind of going back to the gas card, it's the same with the groceries. Gift cards must be designated for food purchases only. I believe Hannaford does that. And it'll say on the food card that it's for food only. And so what we'll need, if you go that route, is to actually have a photocopy of the front of the card and the back of the card. And we do that so we can see that it says food only. And then on the back, it's got a number on it that we can match up with the actual receipt for the purchase of the food card. Hot food is up to 3 meals a day, cannot exceed the federal per diem rate. And again, tipping is not allowed. Clothes, this one we changed this year. It was $150 maximum once a year. We kind of noticed that we were getting a lot of special requests to kind of dip into the fund twice a year for the same client. And rightly so. Maine we have extreme weather differences between winter and summer. So we decided to make it twice a year that a client could actually access the fund for clothing. And that's the same for children's clothing. It needs to be in 2 different seasons. And again, it's $150 maximum, but it does include shoes. And the children's clothing, same as with the adults clothing. And this isn't, if the client has 4 kids, they can use the $150 4 times, twice a year. And that would actually be 4 different needs on the needs request form on the actual application, which we'll go over in a little bit. Outerwear includes coat, boots, and hats. Outerwear for children. Cell phone, $50 maximum for phone hardware plus 1 month phone plan or equivalent minutes. We realize that this isn't always possible. And so again, those special requests, if you have any questions like, oh, the phone actually costs $60, please just reach out and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Furniture, bed setup, mattress, box spring, frame, $400, and couch and chairs, $400. We do realize that folks do have more furniture needs. We specifically put these ones on there because they tend to have more issues with bed bugs. And so we just want to make sure that we are very specific. Like, it's harder to come by new stuff as far as bed setup and couch and chair. We also put in bed setup for children. We have childcare costs, $1,000 maximum for up to 1 month, not to exceed $30 an hour. This particular need, we do need to see an itemized invoice. It doesn't have to be like a registered daycare, but we do need to see something stating so-and-so is watching this many children on this day. Here is the name, here is the address. We need something a little bit formal to then go with the application. Baby supplies was new this year, $300 for crib, clothes, bottles, diapers, anything else, any of those extra needs that babies need. Paperwork replacement costs, license fee, passport fee, birth certificate fee, medical and court records. These kind of varied, so we didn't put a maximum amount. We cannot pay for court fees. That's one of the things, it's not listed on here, but I always like to mention it to folks. Sometimes they ask, and it's just something that we don't cover with the fund. We have housewares, dishes, bedding, kitchenware, and towels, a $300 maximum. And moving on to the medical needs, prescription drugs, 1 month of prescription drugs covered. This includes birth control, prescribed medical equipment, $250 limit, and that includes eyeglasses. Over-the-counter medicine, $50 limit, includes emergency contraceptive, up to $75. The MAT is the medication assisted treatment, and we'll do 1 month of that. Inpatient substance use disorder, $1,000 maximum. Partial inpatient substance use disorder treatment, $1,000 maximum. Outpatient, $1,000 maximum for up to 2 months. We have done something similar with this, but when it was sent in, it was deemed rent, but we needed actually an outpatient. So we're able to do 2 months instead of just the 1. Inpatient mental health treatment, $1,000 maximum. Partial inpatient mental health treatment, $1,000. Outpatient, $1,000. And hygiene products is also new for this year. And that's a $30 maximum. Again, we realize stuff happens more than once. If you have questions, please reach out. All right, we are actually moving into the application. So the next 4 pages are what you'll be sending in. The first 6 pages are just informational. You do not need to send that in when you submit your applications. If you do, it's fine. We'll take it out, but you don't absolutely need it. It's more just for your benefit. Name of the person filling out this form, that will be you or whoever the advocate is. Date of the application, we need your phone number, and the agency that you work for, and then the agency address. Total cost of the needs, this is new on the front page. So this had typically been on the second page, but we decided to put it on the first because then we can see right up front how what the total cost of all the needs are and how many needs there actually are. And we will go over the needs form in a few pages. As an eligible service provider applicant, this is where you're gonna check off which one you are. Sexual assault center, domestic violence center, victim services program, social services program. If you're a police officer and you're unable to reach any of the above providers, and then this is kind of just it's like a trick question. So I'm none of these things and I will call sexual assault center. Again, if you are law enforcement, we just ask that you call one of these numbers as well. Not that you can't call us directly, but it's usually better to call the actual helplines. Recipient information. This is what the recipient ID, if we get nothing else from this piece right here, we definitely need the recipient ID. This is how we track and how we pay for things. To create the ID, we need the first initial and the last initial, and then we need the birth month and the birthday. So down here with the example, Jane Doe's birthday is September 25th. So her ID would be JD925. If the recipient was Jane Doe and her birthday was May 2nd, the ID would be JD52. We do not need the zeros in there. If you put them in, it's okay. I just have to go in and I take them out. But that's just a little FYI. The rest of this is all just demographic info that we track. And recipient eligibility. So we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. You're going to check all that apply. And this is where we just make sure that they're meeting those federal guidelines for trafficking. It's going to be probably 2 out of the 3. So you'd have either sex trafficking and human trafficking federal, or labor trafficking Maine and human trafficking federal. If nothing else, we do need one of these checked. If you're checking that recipient is not eligible, time to put down the application, and then we got to rethink how we got here, right? Signing below, this is where the advocate is going to sign this, and it's just stating that they've done their due diligence and made sure that all the information is correct. They've done their, they're not falsifying information, and this is done so if we get audited, we know that on our end, we've done all that we can to make sure that this is also correct. So it kind of goes down the line. All right, this is the second part of the application, the needs request form. This is where you're going to put one of those needs from the pre-approved list, or if it's a special request, you're going to state what the need is and the cost requested for the need. This should match the receipt that we're getting. You're going to check one of these. Is the need directly related to the recipient's human trafficking victimization? Yes. Proceed. No. This needs does not qualify for the payment from this fund. Again, it's kind of a stop measure to make sure that we're kind of in the right place. Is this an immediate need? Yes. Or again, this does not qualify. Is the need otherwise funded? We talked about this a little bit earlier. This is where you're going to just check these boxes. And this is again for us to make sure that you've kind of gone through all the resources before coming to the fund. So all of these will have to be checked off. And if you're requesting hoteling, that all of these are also checked off. This is the second page of the needs request form. Is the need pre-approved? Yes or no, but MECASA has approved this need specifically. This would be the special approvals, or if you called and said, no, I already talked to you about this. Is the amount requested for this need within the pre-approved limit listed? Yes or no, but again, you talked to somebody at MECASA and they approved it. Is this the first time the recipient has used this fund to meet the need during the current calendar year? Yes, this is where, again, advocate due diligence comes in. And when speaking with your client, asking them if they've requested funding before. It's okay if the client has said yes, and it's for a different need. The client can use the fund for several different needs throughout the same calendar year. It's just if they're using it for the same need twice within the calendar year, we ask that you call us, email us, make sure that you're getting the special approval. If it's an emergency, we really do try to push through those special approvals. We want to help. Payment options, we touched on earlier. Again, our agency paid for this need already. The receipt is attached to the application. Again, we need itemized receipts for all of these applications or itemized invoices showing what's been paid for or what we need to pay for. And this is, if you paid for it already, this is where you're going to fill in the information of where we need to make the check payable to and the address. If you're requesting that we pay for this need directly, we do need the documentation of the cost from the vendor, and we'd like, and how you would like MECASA to pay, by check or by credit card. If it's by check, we always say it may take up to 2 weeks to get that check out. If it's something that absolutely needs to be done within a few days, you should be, or we ask that you fill out the credit card information. Both of these, we will need a little bit more information moving forward. Because we don't ask about identifying information of the clients. Sometimes it makes it tricky when we're trying to pay for a need directly. And so in the memo would be like an account number or some way for us to make sure that we are paying the people for for the right account, basically. Sometimes that, again, can look like an account number. It can look like we're paying for the first last security for rent for this apartment. Again, we really don't like to see any identifying information for the clients. And also kind of coming back up to this second page for the need request form, you are going to need, your client can have 5 different needs. One for rent, one for furniture, one for clothing. We are going to need 5 different needs request forms for all of those. And the same goes for the second page. Seems like a lot of work, but we have to have it. And that was a lot of information to throw at everyone. Do you have any questions about any of this? I'm going to share a little story about something that happened recently. And it's very helpful in thinking about this going forward, especially if you're new. We had an advocate send in an application with 7 to 9 different needs request forms, totaling it was quite a chunk of money. And before they actually sent it in, they had reached out to ask questions about how the best way to do it. And what they did is for each need, they actually then paid for it separately. So there was like 9 different receipts that kind of coincided with the need request forms. It made things very smooth. It was very easy for us to kind of look at that receipt, look at the amount, and match it immediately with the needs request form. And it doesn't always work out that way, especially if you order things online. But just something that I like to tell people, like it's a really smooth way to do things. And we are happy to actually to put through that much all at once, and able to do it. Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Maureen, I'm going to ask a quick question just because we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it saves me another email.
Yeah.
I know we recently just did a hotel request, but I just had a question while we're here because they just sent me the invoice, but they sent it, of course, it said, because it's direct bill to the agency. So it says like who the room was rented through, but it has the survivor's name, which I know to take off.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was an invoice they gave her, so it said 0. But it does say direct bill in there, and it gives the cost and the invoice to what the direct bill is. Do I also have to get like the credit card statement to show that it was taken off the credit card, or would that suffice? Makes sense.
Yeah, so the invoice actually has the total amount for the hotel, correct?
It does, yes, but then it says like total amount owed 0, and it says direct billed, and it just says up at the top, like to our agency. It doesn't say direct, it says direct bill within that invoice, and at the top it says the agency.
I think because it actually showed the total amount and then how much you owed, it shows that it's actually been paid, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
And as long as it has that in the itemized, like, you know, it was this many nights at this rate.
Yes. Yeah.
Here's a grand total. And then it has some kind of identifying information about where, you know, where the lodging is.
Yeah.
And even though it says, you know, amount owed 0, I think that's totally fine. You can send that in.
Thank you.
And we have our finance director. So if I'm, if it's not correct, you can just tell me right now, Julie.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. It's always something. I feel like every time I do it, I'm like, but what about this? So I just ask all the questions all the time, but that's how you learn.
Exactly. And, you know, I really bring on all the questions. Sometimes it does bring up some good pieces like the gas card. That's something that the gas has been on here since I've been managing the fund. And honestly, I had never been asked about a gas card, so I wasn't quite sure how that worked, or if there were any gas stations that did gas only cards. We have not found one yet. So if anyone finds one around the state, please send me that information and I can keep that in the back of my head for future use. But that's how we keep moving forward and keep updating all of this information is through all those questions. Anyone else? I'd be happy to answer, troubleshoot.
I was just thinking back to the gas card thing because we went back and forth. I remember trying to help hunt for that thing. Would it work? And this is just me talking out loud because I like to ask questions and talk about things, but I'm just kind of thinking roundabout. So would it work by chance if someone had like an agency card and they went to the gas station and bought gas and like it showed on the receipt, like here's gas. So not necessarily a gas card, but just like, here's a receipt. The purchase was only gas. I mean, that would probably work, right?
Yeah, if the advocate, you know, accompanied the client and paid for the gas, We just need to see the itemized receipt with the application. And unfortunately, due to the fact that gas cards at gas stations are not the thing, there's no such thing. That's the only way that we can do it, is through the reimbursement that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, and it definitely won't always work that an advocate can be there, but.
Yeah. Yep. Anyone else? Questions are encouraged. Again, at any point, if later you say, wait a minute, I thought of something, please send me an email at the htfund.org, the htfund@MECASA.org email address. A few other things that actually just kind of popped in my head. The special approvals, lately what we have been noticing a lot of are dental requests. And I try to update folks on that as well. We can't put those on the pre-approved needs, just because the needs are always different when it comes to dental work. But we have been pushing through special approvals for dental work quite a bit, especially when it comes to quality of life. And, not being able to eat, healthy foods because they're in so much pain. So we're happy to do that. And we also have been doing direct pays for those as well. Again, after checking through like dental clinics and other resources, but it's something that I do like to put out because I know it is a big need in some of the communities. Yes, and overall physical health. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I really appreciate everyone's time and for coming. Again, just reach out to us with any questions. Julie is going to put an evaluation into the chat. If y'all could take a few minutes and fill that out, it helps us with future trainings and webinars. And everyone gets a little bit of extra found time this afternoon. So that's always helpful on a Thursday afternoon.